Hello all. It is a few days later and back out here to work on this again. So I gotta figure out where I was at to start with. Okay, we got one wire there, one wire here. So that does not require a ring terminal. Okay. Simple. I stripped that already. I sure did. Need one more stretch of this wire. So essentially we'll have our main power coming in here, go through this switch. I've got indicator lights. I've got the we've got line side of the switch. On the load side, we're running to the line side of the next switch. Then we will tag the next thing off of it on the load side. And then this switch will, so this switch has to be on for this switch to get power, to power its things. And then this switch will pass power to this one, which also has to be turned on. So that's my thought process here for being able to run all this safely. I also want to be able to, I think I've explained it before, but I'll explain it again. Don't remember, it's been about a week. This will shut it all off. And because that thing cannot be run without oil in it, I've got the heater as the last thing in line to be turned on. I need to grab a couple connectors. I'll be right back. I have returned. Not color coding this, it's simple enough. That is long enough. I don't love that, but it'll be okay. Where's my screwdriver? That'll work. I'm gonna pull that one off. I might need another connector. I definitely do. Be right back. Finally. God damn. While we're here, excuse me, need to strip a whole bunch of this back. I don't think that I actually have the ring terminals on hand for this gauge of wire, so I'm gonna have to go get some. Pretty sure it's 6 gauge. It's funny to me that I think that technically the wiring in this cord is not correct. The color coding. It'll be fine, but as long as I know what it is. That should be enough. Okay, I'm back. I may not need this one, but I've got it. Black and red typically for 240 volt. This cord only has a neutral. This plug did not come with a ground, so we're gonna identify for sure which plug, which part of the prongs this goes to. I suspect the green one. Yup. And just to verify, because I'm pretty sure that the center prong on that thing is the neutral, we will come over here. I could just Google it, but my connectors are not long enough, so just stand by. Okay, I'm not going to show how I did that because, yeah. Anyways, electrical theory time. Because it's 240 volts, we have 2 hots. I have 240 volts between these two here. So that means that those have to be the 2 hots. It's the only way I can get 240 out of this. Meaning this is the neutral. So that straight plug is my neutral. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recolor code that correctly with the white tape. And it doesn't really matter which one I mark as red or black, but since I already have a black wire, I'm going to leave that one black, and we'll mark this one as red for our other hot. Okay, so that is sorted. I'm gonna hold on to this. I don't know what for, but it's a female plug. I guess if I ever need to wire anything in an emergency or adapt something to something, I've got that and I can do it. We'll go ahead and land that through there. The only thing that neutral is going to be for is for the outlet that we're going to run the pump with. And I'm pretty sure that I'm only actually going to need to tag off of one side of this, because this is our heater. This will be for our pump. I can go ahead and feed this through there. This is probably going to be a pain in the long term, like working on of this thing. Definitely didn't need this much wire. Yeah, those are definitely going to require terminals. So, I have time. I think I am actually going to go run to the hardware store and get a couple of them. And we'll be back. Actually, I lied. I've determined that I do not need to go to the hardware store. Because this thing is going to draw nowhere near the actual ampacity of this, it does not need 6-gauge wire. I'll show you a hacky trick. So we've got stranded. Can just strip it at the size you actually need, and you will actually take off some of those copper wires, and that will get you in the ballpark of the right size. Now I may have to do that again, but I'm going to go grab some of the connectors that I have for the actual correct size and put one on. Need to go down a size. Yep. Highly do not recommend doing this unless you actually know specifically what you're doing, how many amps you're working with in the system, and all that. The only reason that I feel this is acceptable is because it is well oversized wires for this. Okay, be right back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that my connectors will work with this thing. I'm gonna, might not be able to put that one on eyelets. I might have to use this one. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the case. Might use some of the hardware from this one. And I'm gonna cut this hole. So we'll be right back. I'm not gonna make you suffer through watching me cut that because that's probably not gonna be very much fun because this plate's supposed to be removable, but it is not gonna be for long. So we'll be back. All right, so I've got a hole to mount that thing. It's not actually where I originally intended to mount it, but I think it will work. Okay, I've got an extra indicator light. I think I will keep it as a spare. Because obviously if this thing's turned on, there's one down here. I thought about putting one next to it just for the outlet, but I don't know. Could cause operator confusion, maybe. I'm going to go ahead and strip my neutral. So you might have noticed I did a little bit of wire cleanup. It would be better if all this was on terminal strips. I think, like I said earlier, oopsie, got a little bit too small of a box, and it's an El Cheapo. So it'll be okay. The main goal was basically just to be able to open and close the door without it pinching wires. Okay. Cover. I think that we're actually about ready to try this thing. We got a little bit more plumbing to do, but I'm pretty sure that the electrical is all done. So we'll get this screwed in there and we'll plug it in, see if anything blows up. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, oh, power's out. Oh yeah, cool, they're doing electrical work outside. Okay, so, all Alright, it'll be fine for now. Cool cobwebs. So, I'll show you how to start something when you're not really like totally sure about it. Here's our weld plug. We're going to turn that off. We're going to go ahead and plug it in. I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything is shut off. See, that was on. And then we will flip the breaker on. Okay, nothing exploded. So, a better way that I could have done this would have been to use QDs, because then I could separate this from everything, but project for a later time maybe, or not at all, we'll see. Contact. Uh-oh, problems. Let's see what is going on. Oh yeah, not problems. The power's off. Okay. We'll be back and we'll test this thing when the power's actually back on. Until then, I hope you guys have a good day. Okay, we're back. It's the next day. The power is actually on. Got this stack of fittings here so that I can plug this little pump into that. I don't know why this has a half NPT fitting, because look at the way it's reduced. But yes, that's a 1/2 inch pipe thread to a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 to a quarter to a quarter to an 1/8. It's capable of way more flow than it actually needs. That's a push lock fitting. Those are actually typically used for like airlines. but this is going to be a very low pressure application, so I figure it'll be fine. Cool, that reaches the ground, so that's done. I don't like that tube, but I'm guessing it's silicone. It'll probably be fine. Let's go ahead and electrically test this, and then we will look into what all we need to do to finish the plumbing. I've definitely got two lines on the bottom of this thing. One I'm guessing is a clean oil line, and the other is a the waste side or whatever, will drain the water and the junk. Okay, so that's off. I'm gonna plug this in. Turn it on. Okay, nothing exploded. This is the heater, and I don't want to run it dry, but I am just going to bump it on for a second. Okay. Well, it vibrates a little bit. I would say that it's probably acceptable. It doesn't look like it's like actually balanced. So it's going to be one of those things where it is what it is. What's 160, 170, 175 would be about 80 degrees Celsius. 85. Okay, all that works. The feed to the lid. Finishing a run. Motor replacement. That's handy. That's math I would have done anyways, but it's not showing. Doesn't look like it's showing which side actually does what. I may also bolt these feet on. It's probably not a bad idea to bolt this thing to the table. All right, I'm gonna look up which hole does what on this thing because it's not included in the instructions. All right, done a little reading. I didn't find anything that comes right out and says it, but the principle of the way this thing works is it dirty oil in, accelerator cone forces it to the bottom. It traps any contaminants on the outside, and it works, the oil works its way up to the edges here, and it's thrown out here. So this will be our clean drain, and I'm going to need to plumb in the dirty return here. So So we've got a couple hose pipe fittings here for hoses. Oh, that is a huge port. Okay, here's our reducer. I'm not so sure. Okay, so I've got my sizes here. I'm gonna need to go get some hose for this thing. So we're gonna call it a day for today. I'm gonna come back in. We will finish our install. And then we'll go ahead and test run it, because it does all work. So nothing blew up. We'll be back. See you then. All right, we're back again. I believe last time I showed my test run of all this stuff. So we're going to get the oil drains themselves set up. The larger one to the outside is the clean oil drain. I may... Yep, all right. I'm gonna go ahead and get this taped up and we'll put it together and then we'll be back. All right, back at it. Yeah, less than ideal. All right, so go ahead and start it. No, it is not plugged in. Look at me being safe. It is turned on. Don't tell me this thing's junk right out of the box. Output 24 volts. No, the adapter's working. There we go. And then once we have some oil come out of here, I must. Yeah, I'm gonna end up having to edit some of this out. We should have oil coming out soon. Yeah, don't touch that thing. Oops. Thing's hot. I'm gonna turn that thing down some because it overshot my target like quite a bit, 20 degrees. Yeah, this thing overshot by a lot. When I see that temperature come back down, I'll kick this thing on at maybe a little bit more reasonable temperature.